What's going on YouTube? So I'm standing next to a very unique vehicle that introduced a whole new segment when it first came out, and that is the BMW X6. Now BMW has fully redesigned their high fashion crossover with all the latest design and technology. But is it enough to keep the original ahead of the also new GLE Coupe? Let's go ahead and find out. So there's no better place to start off this review than with the exterior design, because that of course is the most distinct element and the reason why you buy the X6. Now up in the front, you're actually not going to notice a ton of differences from the related X5, since you still have a lot of similar elements like the large kidney grille. Now you notice on this specific example, we have a very aggressive look. That's because we have the extended shadow line package, so that blacks out these two giant kidney grills, as well as all this trim down here, and that really contrasts nicely with this crisp white paint. Now off to the side here, you'll notice we have our laser headlights. So this is actually the most advanced headlight setup on the X6. The standard one is also fully LED, just like this, but this has the optional laser light system. And then down below, we also have the LED fog lights. So with the M50i, of course, you just upgraded straight to the performance and sporty oriented design elements, and that includes your wheel options. So you're going to start out with a 20-inch contrast alloy. We have the optional 21-inch contrast alloys, which I will say look awesome. And then you also have 22s if you want, the maximum size on board. The other thing I really like, especially with the white paint, is the contrast with the red brake calipers. And then jumping up here to your mirrors, you almost don't need me to tell you, they have all the features that you can put on a mirror, because this is almost a six-figure vehicle. So you have auto dimming, power folding, blind spot monitoring, as well as heating. So this X6 is, like Drew said at the very beginning, the OG. It invented this segment of vehicle. And what exactly is this segment? So basically, it just takes an X5 and then it throws in this really cool sloping back roof design, and then you also get a completely different look here in the rear. Now, you're either probably gonna love this or hate it. It's kind of 50-50 on if you like it or not. I have to say, in person, I really dig this X6 rear design. It has a very cool design that's really nothing like any other BMW in the lineup. Now, as far as the individual design elements, up here on the top, we do have a lip spoiler, making that aggressive look. And then we have these taillights. These are probably the coolest part of this rear design, because these are full LED taillights, and they kind of go almost full length. They just kind of go to the BMW emblem and then stop. And then dropping down, we do have this whole rear diffuser area, which is going to be different when you go for that M50i model. So we do have this black trim, and we also have quad exhaust outlets in dual housing. So it kind of looks like a dual exhaust, but it's really quad, and it sounds fantastic. Now, like most BMWs, you are going to have some of your safety systems standard, and then you have the option of getting the more advanced ones. So in this X6, that's going to be forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection and blind spot monitoring standard. Then you have the driver's assistance professional package as an option. That's going to throw in all of these super advanced systems like adaptive cruise control with traffic jam assistant and active steering. Well guys, I have to say this X6 is certainly very unique looking on the outside. Now let's go ahead and check out that really luxurious cabin before we take this guy out on the road. So walking up to the 2021 X6, of course you are going to find BMW Smart Entry System, as well as their typical fob with the special M branding. Now you also notice inside of my hand I have the digital key, and this is just basically a card that allows you to get in and out of the vehicle. And of course, to get inside, all you have to do is just reach behind the handle. It actually unlocked right before I got up to the car since I have the digital key in my pocket. Now checking out this cabin. You'll see, of course, that it makes a very good first impression with all the luxury inside. It does look similar to the X5, but there are special touches in here for just the X6. Now, of course, as you'd expect for a nearly six-figure price tag, you have lots of choices for your interior material and colors. So you start out with real Vernesca leather with your choice of black, ivory white, Tacora red, or coffee colors. However, on this specific example, we have the optional extended merino leather, and that comes in mostly the same colors. However, on this model here, we have the Tartufo, which I believe is a new option for 2021. Now turning over here to your door trim, it is beautifully appointed. You have leather covering almost the entire thing, as well as along the top here. One thing I do want to point out that's different from the X5 is this whole door trim area. We have a big handle to grab on, as well as some real aluminum trim and the speaker grill. Now up top here, you'll notice your controls for your tailgate, two-person memory seating. We also have some buttons for the massaging that we have as an option on this example. And then all four of our windows are one-touch automatic. Now heading down here to your seats, like I mentioned, we have the optional massaging. So this is a 20-way power adjusting seat. And one of the things I do want to mention is that these controls are touch sensitive. So when you touch a certain area, it highlights on the display what you are adjusting. And like I already mentioned, we have the merino leather seats, which are absolutely exquisite. Really intricate design here with the stitching and quilting and the color contrast design. Now, once you're actually inside of this cabin, you'll see that the visual richness definitely extends to actual richness. So across your upper dash, we have the full leather dashboard option. So all of it is, of course, leather with two color contrast stitching details. Dropping down, we have real aluminum trim through here. You can choose to have wood if you prefer. Of course, we have padded materials on our lower areas. We also have a big area of leather through here, so your knee can rest against with two different types of leather, and everything in here just fits together absolutely perfectly. Now to start up the X6, you have standard push button start. And if you didn't remember, we had the M50i model. You will remember once you press that button. Now taking a look at the gauges themselves, this of course is BMW's Live Cockpit Professional 12.3-inch reconfigurable gauge cluster setup. Of course, as that name implies, you can reconfigure the design of this. You also notice we have the map set inside the middle there, but you can choose other things as well. Now in addition to that, this specific example includes the head-up display, which is part of the executive package, and this contains a lot of the information actually from the multi-function display can be up here in the head-up display so that you don't have to look down. Now coming back to the steering wheel, this is one of my favorite steering wheels in the auto industry, the M Sport design. Really thick bolsters, a really premium soft feeling leather, and the leather covered airbag. You also notice we have heating on this model, and then you have power adjustment across the entire X6 range. But now let's go ahead and talk about interior storage. Now I am happy to report that you really don't lose anything up here in the front compared to the X5. So you'll notice Underneath our center console here, we have lots of space. You have a nice rubber lining down at the bottom of it and a USB Type-C port. Now, just because this is an expensive vehicle, though, does not mean it's immune to the coupon test. So let's go ahead and stick those in there and see how it does. Looks like with the fold in half, it fits those coupons just fine. Now, up in front of that, you have a cover that slides back, and you'll notice you have a pretty generous amount of space. This goes up quite a ways. You have a nice rubber lining. This side here is actually a wireless phone charging pad. And then you have another USB and a 12-volt outlet. And I should mention before moving on that the cup holders can be heated and cooled. Alright, now checking out the shifter, you'll notice we have the optional glass controls here, which look absolutely stunning. They are part of the executive package. But as far as the actual operation of the shifter, it is typical BMW. So you're just going to pull back for drive. You can bump over here to the left if you want to do some manual shifting. And of course, we do have standard paddle shifters on board. Now for reverse, you just go up in the opposite direction. And when you do, you will be greeted with a standard backup camera, or in this case, we also have the 360-degree camera system as part of the parking assistance package. And that does also include the automatic parallel and perpendicular parking modes. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a good demonstration of the system if I didn't go into the 3D view and show off just how detailed these graphics are. It's really incredible. BMW certainly makes one of the best backup cameras in the entire auto industry. And then for park, you're just going to press the P. You also notice that the mirror does tilt down in reverse to help you see the parking line better. Alright, so let's check out a few of the buttons around here. You'll notice some stuff with your auto start stop, your cameras, and your parking sensors. We also have a bunch of drive modes, which we'll talk about during the test drive. And then off to the side here, we have our glass controller for iDrive, as well as some shortcuts around it. Sound quality of this system is A+. Now you can actually get a higher end sound system if you want, a Bowers & Wilkins, but unless you're a super audiophile, this will be plenty. Alright, so our next stop up here will be our climate control. So BMW integrates them basically into the vent unit, so they're very discreet in that way. And you adjust your temperature up and down like so, and you'll notice it shows up right there. Now this is a quad zone automatic setup. It is standard equipment, and most of your buttons are located physically here, though you can press this menu button and access a few of the extra things such as your heated armrests. Now next to that, you'll notice we have our heated seat and ventilation controls. They do share the same button here, but the car itself is smart enough to know what you probably want, so it will go ahead and activate ventilation when it's hot or heating when it's cold. Alright, so now that brings us up here to our iDrive 7 system with a 12.3-inch display. Now this is a touchscreen where you can use the iDrive controller, which I already pointed out. Now of course, as you can tell, we have a standard navigation system on board, but what I want to talk about is that this year, for 2021, we have wireless Android Auto. So BMW has now started rolling that out to their latest model, so you have that in addition to wireless Apple CarPlay. Now up top here, you will find a frameless auto-dimming mirror with 3 Home-Link universal remotes. Then up at the very top, you'll find a standard panoramic moonroof. Now as you can see, it's a little bit smaller, of course, than in the X5 because we do need to preserve some rear headroom back there. And you'll also notice the little dots that are integrated inside of it. That's because in the executive package we have the LED Sky Lounge. So this is basically lights up in a bunch of different colors, kind of like stars in the sky. Really makes for an awesome look at night.
So in the X6's rear seat, this is obviously going to be a little bit of a compromise over the regular X5, since you do have that really cool sloping back roof design that is going to cut into your headroom and make it feel a little bit less spacious back here. However, that is not to say that this is not still a spacious place, because I am really happy with how this feels back here. Now, as far as your legroom, it's going to be 35 inches of rear legroom, and it's going to have 37 inches of rear headroom, which does place it a few inches shy of that X5, and it is also a little bit behind the new GLE Coupe. But that said, I really don't have too much of a problem with it, and behind rear seating position, I have, I would say, 4 or 5 inches of rear legroom. My feet can easily set up underneath the seat, so this is really not a bad place to spend time. Now, as far as your features, of course, this is a fully loaded luxury SUV, so we do have vents up top. Each rear passenger is going to have the ability to adjust their own climate back here, and that's going to be on most models. And then we also have optional 3-stage heated rear seats. Dropping down, we have a little storage compartment, and then further below, we have a 12-volt outlet, and then you have the USB Type-Cs right here in the back of the seat back. And then if we fold down the armrest, we have pop-out cup holders inside, a little bit of storage, and then on the door, we also have rear window sunshades. Now, walking up to the tailgate, BMW is going to throw in a hands-free power one as standard equipment, so just wave your foot under the bumper to open. And once it opens up, this is going to be another area where you're going to sacrifice just a little bit over the X5 model, since you're going to come in at 27 cubic feet behind the second row seats, and that expands to 60 cubic feet if you fold them. That does actually place it above the GLE Coupe though, but 13 cubic feet less than the X5. Now, as far as the finishings back here, BMW has finished it nicely, as you would expect. So we do have a nice cargo cover up top that can fold. And then down here on the floor, if we lift it up, we do have a little bit of additional storage, and I'm actually really impressed by the amount of space down here. It's actually up in the front, and it goes across the entire floor, so I imagine you could fit quite a bit of stuff up under there. And then as far as your connections, you aren't going to have any back here, but you do also have the handles to fold the seat backs. Now, your passenger seat over here is fully loaded, as you would expect, so the same adjustments as the driver's. We also have 2-person memory as well as the massaging function. And then, as far as the glove box is concerned, if we drop that down, it is nicely felt lined, and there's a good amount of storage. So I don't know if a typical X6 owner would use coupons, but there's plenty of space back there for them, so I'm happy about that. And then up top, we do have the typical BMW sun visor with a little tiny, narrow mirror and LED light, and it does also detach and extend. Oh my goodness.
That was bonkers.
Oh my.
That is nuts. So, that left me speechless almost. I knew that was going to be fast, but it just feels incredible when you're actually behind the wheel, like the G's and everything.
That's nuts.
So, as far as what this actually is, 4.4 liter twin power V8 engine. We have 523 horsepower. And this is the M50i,
wow,
guys. This is not even the full-fledged M, the M50i.
523 horsepower. You heard him right. And then if you go for that like X6M model, that has 600 horsepower. So really, you're not sacrificing much over that. And you know, of course, you can also get the regular 40i, which that's going to have 335 horsepower out of that basic BMW inline 6-cylinder engine. Yeah, and just the other thing that strikes me, you know, from that original acceleration was just the sound. Listen to this. It sounds like a hot rod. Like, that was my first just thought when I hear it. It has such a throaty, deep sound. You know, it's just weird that something of this, you know, it's a BMW, it's a refined German car, but it has like a hot rod engine in it. But how does it, live up to the typical BMW driving experience when you're just cruising down the road and we're going 55 miles an hour? How does it do? Well, this is almost a flagship vehicle. It's one rung below the X7, but it has 90% of what that vehicle has. So up here at 55 miles an hour, there is little to no noise at all. I will get a sound level reading. And it looks like we're going to be sitting around 56 decibels.
This thing just has so much power. Like, good luck keeping it under the speed limit. Whoever buys this, you may want to budget for some speeding tickets.
Yeah, you'll get them.
Because we're in comfort mode, guys, right now. In comfort mode, and just kind of barely hitting the throttle, and you're already up to the speed limit. Just like that. It's incredible. I don't know if we mentioned the 0 to 60. 4.1 seconds.
Yeah.
So, we're talking pretty bonkers numbers. Like I said, not even the full M, but realistically, this really is basically the full M experience, except you got a little bit more comfort here with the M50i. And speaking of the comfort, so the suspension, it is very nice and comfortable. We have the adaptive suspension. Now there is just a touch of firmness, you can tell. Definitely gives it that athletic feel that you want from a German vehicle. But it really absorbs the big impacts extremely well.
It's even fun just to drive at just low speeds. It is so much fun. Now, on that acceleration, you were probably noticing maybe a little bit of the transmission. Since that engine is so loud, you can kind of hear it shift a little bit. It's an 8-speed automatic. It blends right into the background if you're driving comfort oriented, and maybe later in this test drive we'll see how it does in sport mode.
Well, since we have come to a stop here, we might as well try out the sport mode. So this is going to be sport. Do sport standard. There is a sport plus.
I don't know what that
or
does.
Or individual, or you can configure 20 different things. Just like any BMW, it's complicated.
Oh my god.
Well, it gets even louder, even faster.
Oh wow. Well, that's today's slam dunk, is just the performance from that engine as well as its engine sound. What I was about to say was, when you get behind the wheel, that's really when you fall in love with this vehicle. It's hard. I couldn't think of a person that wouldn't fall in love when you got behind the wheel of this. It's just so intoxicating, that engine noise, how much power you have. It's everything you could ever want out of an engine thrown in this.
Now, since he did the slam dunk, that means I will come up with an air ball. It takes a little bit of thinking, but I will say with this X6 as well, it does apply to some of the other BMWs as well. The climate controls are a little bit fiddly, and I mean that as the buttons are quite small, like the fan button. It's all one button, but you push at the top, up and down. This is your temperature. Your heated and ventilated seats share the same button. It's just a little bit small and difficult to do while you're on the move.
Yeah. Now, one of the things I was pleasantly surprised by with this X6 M50i is the fuel economy, because, with that engine, one would think you may get really bad fuel economy, but it is still rated at 16 city, 22 highway, 18 combined. I'm not saying that's great or anything, but it's also really not that bad for a 523 horsepower V8 engine. If you go for the 40i, that's going to be 23 mpg, so 5 mpg reduction for the M50i, but I'm certain it's worth it for the fuel economy side of things.
Now, in terms of your pricing, the X6 is going to cost about $6,000 extra over the X5. You know, it's obviously it's platform mate.
Yeah. Which that's really not too bad. And as far as like the actual numbers, for the 40i rear wheel drive, that's 64.3. The X drive is 66.6, and then you have this one, the M50i, the one you're really going to want. That's 85,650, and it is worth noting that does come with more equipment than just the engine. Now this one, as equipped, it is a BMW after all, so of course you're going to have plenty of options. We have around 10 grand on this tester, so we have quite a few different packages, and then the destination charge is $995, bringing this one's total as tested to $96,045.
Let's be honest, if you want something that's this body style, you know, you're attracted to this is your option.
Yeah.
You know, you're frankly not going to get anywhere near the character or the personality from an X5 or an X7. So that combined with the performance that backs up the looks, this really is an amazing package.
Well guys, that's going to be all for this review of the lovely 2021 BMW X6 M50i. If you enjoyed this video, there's about 700 other videos on our channel that you may want to check out, including a lot of other BMW content, as well as the competition like the Mercedes GLE Coupe. And we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.